going really well in my life, I still just about always striving for more. And
well, don't give that up, because that is the mantra of the universe, and that is certainly the mantra of your inner being, because there is such a keen awareness that more alignment, more energy, more focus, more clarity, more fun, more. That is the natural understanding of an eternal being.
Yet with the striving, I'm hardly...
Well, now striving's a different thing. Striving and efforting are not letting the energy that creates worlds do the real work.
So maybe it's the striving, and with the striving and efforting, there's very little contentment.
We talked about this a little bit earlier, that when you're offering effort, when you're striving, often it's because you're comparing yourself to others. You're thinking about it in some way that disconnects you from the stream. Because when you're connected to the stream, there's no feeling of striving. There's just a feeling of power and clarity and abundance, you see. And so if it feels like you're striving, you might want to stop and ask yourself, who am I trying to impress? What presentation or effect am I trying? Because if it's the connection with source energy that you're reaching for, there's no feeling of striving, because you can accomplish that really easily.
I am wanting to be more connected with source energy. I meditate. I've been meditating every day for probably the last 40 years. I have a meditation teacher. Yet it just doesn't seem like I could relax. It seems like...
well, let's talk about this, because this is easier than you're making it out to be. So pick one subject that you're striving for and speak it to us here. I'm striving for...
Does it have to be one?
For sake of this conversation, just pick one for now. I'm striving for...
Physical well-being.
All right. So when you said, does it have to be one, give us another.
Emotional well-being.
And give us another.
Financial security.
All right. So everyone can relate to all of that. In other words, those are very common, very normal, and very important things that you're striving for. So now let's take the last one, just for fun, of financial well-being, and tell us with a little bit of specifics what you're talking about. What is it that you're reaching for or striving for? What is it that you want specifically relative to that?
I want to be able to retire comfortably and pay for our daughter's college education.
So what are you talking about? How much money in what period of time?
I'm not really sure. I'm not sure how much, and I also want to say that even though...
All right, so let's speak about it in general terms. I need a bunch of cash, and I need it fairly soon. Is that accurate at all? I need more money than I have, and I need it to start flowing in a pretty steady way.
Well, the thing is, I don't know if I do need more money than I already have. I feel unsafe.
So, well, that's even better. Because what we were going to say to you, if you were saying, I need $100,000 or $200,000 and I need it pretty quick, what we were going to say to you, if that had been your answer, is, well, that's probably not going to come all of a sudden, and it's certainly not going to come in the next 5 minutes, but what could come is what you're really reaching for is a difference in the way you feel. Well, you already got there before we even led you there, because what you're saying to us is there is an emotional thing that you're reaching for. That was one of the three things that you were talking about. There is an emotional thing that you're reaching for that you can accomplish right here, right now, by focusing in a way that lines you up with your inner being. So let's focus on things that right here, right now, accomplish the emotional feeling of safe. So is there anything about your world that makes you feel safe that you could focus upon?
Well, I do have some experiences maybe at the end of the day where I do feel very grateful for the work I've done, how I've helped people, and the money I've earned.
Well, let's not tie it to what you're doing for money. Let's not tie it to anything. Let's just see if we can isolate the feeling of well-being and safety. Do you feel that the chair that you're sitting in will hold you?
Yes.
And you feel fairly confident that you're safe here in this building. Now, it's going to feel like we're stretching a little bit. Do you drive a car?
Yes.
Do you feel like well-being? Is it stable?
I don't actually feel well-being driving. I have fears of being hit again.
All right. So this feeling of not being safe has some tentacles into some different aspects of your life experience. And so we're not only on the rumble strip, we're sort of on a dangerous cliff in that we're talking about something that has some momentum that's pulling against you. So we can change the subject if you want to, or we can keep reaching here for some feelings of safety, because if you don't go back, that's the thing about relitigating the past. The past experience, as you think about it, is what makes you feel unsafe now. So is there anything in your experience where you do feel safe?
It's when I have a certain feeling that I feel safe, when it comes, when I experience that. It could be in meditation, or it come.
So are you making the statement that that feeling of safety, when it comes, it's often not related to a condition. It's sort of an unconditional thing.
Often it is.
So it must be your connection with Source, who always feels your well-being and safety. So it's not about controlling the what is or changing the what is. It's about disassociating from it enough that you can really feel the clarity and the well-being that your inner being feels about you. So you acknowledge that you can do that you often do that you have done that. So is there any real reason for you to not feel safe, since the safety is not about conditions, it's about the function of your alignment or not? Did you hear that? It's about the function of your alignment or not. And you just said to us, I can do that. So now can you go so far as to say, my feeling of being unsafe is not about anything other than my willing to focus myself into alignment where I always feel safe? And we could take it further. I always feel abundant, or I always feel clarity, or I always feel. It's not just the safety thing. It's not just the well-being thing. It's always there. It's being offered to you in this strong, steady, glowing way. And when you find a way to hook up with it, you feel it wash over you. Esther adores the feeling, and she associates it with something sort of interesting. She got this really great pillow at the airport that wraps around her head a little bit, and something about the way it positions her head, it holds her chin in a perfect position, and when she puts it on and reclines her seat, the 1.5 inches that her seat is allowed to recline, she has found a way of just settling into her seat, sort of locking her fingers together, and she says to herself, this feels so good. I am so comfortable. She's just focusing upon the comfort of that moment. And there is a feeling of well-being now that is coming over her every time she does that. Not because of the condition of the pillow, and certainly not because of all of the people who are sitting around her on the airplane. It's a mental thing that she's finding as she's discovered this sense of well-being. She just looks forward to her plane naps now. She can hardly wait to get into that feeling of well-being. And the reason for it is because she was on airplanes, often Southwest, sometimes in the middle seat, often with people bumping up all around her, on airplanes really a lot, not being able to control all of the conditions of it. But what she discovered is she could control the condition of the way she felt, no matter what. And she used that pillow as a sort of excuse, but what it was the alignment with her own well-being. Now it translates out into more and more and more. You just have to find some way of talking yourself off the ledge and into alignment with who you are. And when you find yourself beating the drum of something that enhances your feeling of insecurity, now you're going to notice it more. And so just don't do that. That's the rumble strip that we're talking about. You just can't be sloppy in your thinking. Law of attraction does not allow you to be sloppy in your thinking. If you're sloppy in your thinking, then momentum's going to take hold, and then you're going to feel less safe, and then more and more things are going to come about. You get what we're talking about?
I hear what you're saying, yet it's so difficult. It feels like there's such a contrast with what's in my life and the good things. It's never good enough. But
stop right there. That means one thing and one thing only. You are often looking at your life not through the eyes of Source. Because when you're looking at your life, where you stand, what you're doing through the eyes of Source, it is not only not enough. It is extraordinarily wonderful. It is yielding all kinds of benefit. Your inner being is reveling. Your inner being revels as it looks through you. But you've got to allow yourself to feel that reveling, you see. And again, we said this earlier, if your inner being were not reveling through the magnificent life that you are affording your inner being to revel through, you would not feel lost when you don't allow the reveling. So you might want to say inner being revel a little less because you're getting so carried away with your reveling that I can't get up to speed with it. And your damn reveling is making me feel lost all the time. Or you could say, I want to revel in my life in the way my inner being is reveling in my life. But you've got to find a way to allow the reveling.
How? If I'm feeling poorly physically, a lot of the time.
This is the opposite of the way to do that. In other words, pointing out when you don't feel that way just keeps that vibration going and keeps you from reveling in it. In other words, you can't keep asking the question, why am I not where I want to be? You have to look for little glimpses of being where you want to be. That's what that pillow did for Esther. It was a glimpse of comfort to her. She was saying to herself, well, this is something I got to do, and I got to get on this airplane, and I got to go, and I can't control who's going to sit next to me because I've got one ticket for one seat, and there's going to be other people that are coming on. And for a while, she really efforted. She really tried to make herself look like no one would want to sit there. But most of the planes are full all the time, and so she just relaxed into the fact that somebody was going to sit next to her. And once she relaxed, that it was going to be the way it was going to be, but that she could have the response to it that she was choosing to have to it. And so she used her pillow as her excuse for finding comfort, and then found such comfort in it, such extraordinary comfort. In other words, nobody should be reveling about being on an airplane with all of those other people like Esther is reveling. But it's because her inner being revels then, you see? And then, all kinds of things happen. Clever things are said. Everyone's having a good time. There are relationships that are formed. People sitting around. Everything's uplifted. It's really a good time experience. In other words, on it goes. You have to stop arguing for your limitations, or stop arguing for the what is that is limited in that it's not giving you all that you want, because what you want is connection to source energy, and you can have it anytime. You have no excuse. None of you have any excuse in any moment in time not to be in full connection with source energy. You have no excuse. Now, we understand why you don't do it, because law of attraction has sort of been promoting whatever it is that you've been feeling. But you can change that little by little until you can come in full view. You can see through the eyes of source. And we promise you, you won't feel afraid, and you won't feel lost, and you won't feel ashamed. You won't feel guilty. You won't feel blameful. You won't feel out of sorts. You'll feel clear and in love with yourself and in love with them and confident about the world and happy to be here and remembering how you felt when you came and noticing the things that are uplifting in nature. You'll feel who you really are. You'll feel the way Source feels about it, and you'll be in the state of allowing how Source feels about it, you see. You will. Helpful?
It's helpful, yes. I just want to, add, it's just so confusing for me to have so much in my life and to have so much.
This is a good statement you're making. No matter how good it is, I still don't feel safe.
That's it. I don't feel safe or well.
But listen to our response to that. No matter how good it is, it doesn't affect the way I feel. And therefore, no matter how bad it is, it doesn't affect the way I feel, because the way I feel is not contingent upon conditions. You are on the brink of understanding what unconditional alignment is. And then, it's such a wonderful thing, because unconditional alignment means, you see, people are saying, give me that condition and then I'll feel good. And we say, feel good, then you'll get the condition. And then you say, well, there aren't enough conditions to make me feel good. And we say, that's because you are unconditional in your alignment. Source is not saying, get it all cleaned up and then we'll revel through your life. Source is reveling through your life. Source is not saying, make peace with every single person and then we'll look through you. Source is not saying, you're in an argument with that person and that person doesn't like you, so fix that and then we'll be here. That's the way most religions want to paint it, but that is not the way that it is, you see. Source is reveling through your life right here, right now. Source is reveling in the magnificence of what you are. And you got to find a way of doing that too. And when you do, you will then be free. You'll be free of trying to control conditions you can't control and to control perceptions that others have of you that you can't control. That's what's bothering you. What's bothering you is that you are separating yourself to some degree from the way Source feels about you. You're not allowing. It's like you have an umbrella up. Source is loving you and aware of you and shining toward you all benefits and ideas and impulses. And it's like you've got your umbrella up, shielding yourself from it and then saying, I'm missing the alignment. We say, put the umbrella down.